kind of flipping it a little bit, what are some of the challenges that you run into as an artist in this space, or some difficulties that you kind of have to think about?
I think one of the first things that I ran into, because I was doing art like nonstop every single day, once I started selling it or creating things for people, you stare at your own art for so long. And I can't tell honestly if it looks good, which is so strange. But like you just look at something for so long that you can't tell if like a 2-year-old did it or like a 25-year-old did it, especially with like abstract fluid art. It's like when there's no actual like shadowing and technical like skills with, making like painting a house or something that looks realistic. It's just like I don't know if some of my art even looks like it was done by someone who wants to be like professional about it. So that's a challenge. And I would say also like commissions became a big challenge because I was so used to just doing whatever I wanted on a canvas. And when I get special requests, which I love, like it's great to be challenged, but it is again a thing of like staring at your art for so long. And it's also just trying to figure out how to create exactly what they want in that color combination can take a whole lot of time and get very frustrating because if it's not turning out the way you want it in your head, it's just very frustrating. And with like fluid art, it kind of has a mind of its own a lot of the time, so really recreating something that someone maybe saw on my Instagram and wants in their house is very difficult. So, and I know that like I do explain to people that it can't be like an exact replica because that's just not the nature of alcohol inks. But I think I just have certain expectations for myself in my head of how something's going to turn out, and I need to kind of go in without all of those expectations because I just will redo it until it's perfect, and it'll take me way more time than I allotted. Yeah, so that's a very challenging part.
Yeah, definitely. You touched on the point of like having like an exact replica of your art, and people will.
Yeah.
I know, for example, like my mom just will look at a piece that she sees in the shop, and she'll be like, "I want that one. Can she make that exact one at this size to go in my?" So it's sort of like that. I could definitely see that being a challenge of to recreate something that's abstract. Since there's no roadmap, like I guess my question is, where do you start? Do you start at like the bottom of the canvas? Do you start at the top, or do you just kind of like go at
Oh
like what's
yeah.
your creative process in this?
It all depends. It all depends on what I'm trying to, achieve in terms of look and texture. Usually after I like place all of my ink down and make it like kind of in the pattern that I want, I usually will start in the middle because the bottom and top and like anywhere around the sides are the most challenging because if I'm using like an air compressor or even my breath, if the sides like something the air will hit the sides and splatter into the middle sometimes and just kind of like make the whole thing look different. And I just like to kind of start in the middle and get a gist of what everything is going to be like, and then kind of go to the sides and really focus on them if I like the middle, or go crazy on the sides and rework the middle. I don't know. It really completely depends.
What kind of artists have influenced your style, or you've kind of adapted from or created from, just that inspired you in creating your pieces?
In the beginning, I was super so all of my artist inspiration is really from Instagram artists, because that's where I think the majority of fluid artists and alcoholic artists are. So in the beginning, I was super obsessed with her name is Astuary Art on Instagram, and I think her name is Marissa Recker, and she's from Wisconsin, and she started doing inking on canvas a lot, and she started to include a lot of fluid acrylics and acrylic ink into her paintings, which is something I'm really inspired by and I want to definitely start doing. I just started getting into fluid acrylics a bit more, but she creates gorgeous work. And I think her art has a lot of intent behind it. Like she has kind of stories behind her art, which I find very interesting because I think a lot of alcoholic artists, including myself, just kind of create beautiful work, and there's not really like a meaning behind it. And that's what I'm trying to start thinking about more, and just kind of like my future pieces is actually having like intent behind it, or trying to make someone feel a certain way with it, or trying to kind of create or manipulate the medium to look like something. Like I do black and white art and it looks like an x-ray or smoke or something like that. Like I like the actual intent. She has good intent. And then I really like ink reel. Her name is Ashley Malberg, ink reel on Instagram. I don't really know how to describe her style, but it's like she really showcases the ink as ink. Like her pieces just look very inky. Like you just have to look at her stuff because it's very hard to describe. But she doesn't use much gold actually. And I was super inspired by her in the beginning of my alcohol ink art journey. And I wasn't using much gold. And then I started getting really into gold and developed my style there. But she's still like a huge inspiration in terms of work. And then a third is Emily Miksevich on Instagram, and she's from the UK. And I think I appreciate her stuff more actually as I started working with alcohol inks, because she does very soft blends, very like sunsets and golden things and golden tones, and it looks or like waves even, but her blends are very soft, and it's very hard to get soft blends. And I only started to realize that like once I started to try to do them. So I love her work too. So I think those are the top three that have really influenced my work and that I look at every day. And then I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful.